Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, Julian volunteer firefighters remain at a standstill with the county. The firefighters remain locked inside their fire station while a legal battle brews in Superior Court. Plus, local students are turning their focus away from books and towards gun violence prevention, when and where their movement is happening. And a 97-year-old Navy veteran takes a trip down memory lane right here in San Diego. Why his visit to the Midway meant so much. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 10th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. It's day 3 of a standoff between Julian volunteer firefighters and the county. Today, the showdown moved to Superior Court. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar was there. She joins us with an update on the latest.
Ebony, not too much happened today. There was supposed to be a hearing about a restraining order the volunteer firefighter's lawyer filed against the county. When we got there, the county asked for a new judge, but now the hearing is postponed to next Wednesday, April 17th. About a dozen supporters of the Julian firefighters made the drive to San Diego today for the hearing. Right now, the volunteers are still locked inside Station 56 in Julian. They believe the county is in contempt of court because of a judge's ruling last Friday that found the original application to dissolve the volunteer department to be illegal. I was there yesterday, and the volunteers are not leaving the station, and they're not letting anyone in. They're afraid that if they leave, the county will come and take control of the station. A special election was held a few weeks ago. 54% of the voters in the Julian-Cuyamaca area voted to dissolve the volunteer department and go with the county. The county has been able to take control of the fire station in Cuyamaca, but they're waiting for this dispute to be resolved in court before they figure out the next steps for the Julian station. In the interim, while this dispute is going on, CAL FIRE is responding to all emergency and fire calls in the area. For now, this is the last all-volunteer fire department in San Diego County. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
While many high school students are focused on homework and college applications, a group of teens at San Diego's Hoover High School are taking on gun violence. The students are behind a movement to help their peers overcome the threat. KPBS reporter Tara Minto explains what they're planning.
So tell me about the event you guys have coming up on April 20th.
Well, we're holding a peace conference against gun violence, and it started off when we went to an event at KPBS about gun violence. After we wrote some essays on our experience with gun violence, and we thought that more youth should be involved in this topic about gun violence because I think the underlying issue starts at a very young age.
Tell me about how youth are actually affected by gun violence. How is it impacting their lives and your lives?
A lot of people are actually affected, but we just don't really speak out about it.
What do you mean affected?
Either a family member getting shot or just even hearing gunshots at night, just not feeling safe in the community.
Like, it starts young, and if you are in a community where gun violence occurs, like on an occasion, like you feel like the need to protect yourself. And some teenagers, they want to protect themselves, so they carry guns. And others, like, it's a family thing. So if it's involved like a gang thing, then they believe that like they're obligated to follow their family tradition and they keep going on it. But they don't know that they can get out. And we're hoping that through this peace conference that they know there's ways that they can get out of this situation.
How do you plan on opening up the door and having that conversation? What's going to be happening at the event to kick off that discussion?
Well, I know that there's going to be some resources there so that people can talk to, and then we're also going to be like answering questions.
There's going to be other people like who have been affected by gun violence and who have like gotten out, so that would encourage them that there is an opportunity to get out. And after that, we're going to show them signs that they have been affected by gun violence, because most don't know that they are affected by gun violence.
And then we're going to be put into classrooms, and then I think one is about mental health.
There's going to be simple ways to help them get through it, like breathing techniques, meditation, yoga.
Afterwards, we're trying to plan out to have our own like student-led organization based on gun violence, and people are just welcome to come, like if they have been affected.
For like not only Hoover students, but Crawford and middle schools such as Horseman, Mann, and Wilson.
Do you know students currently struggling with the fear of being at risk in their community of gun violence?
Yeah, I do. But we just feel like we just don't talk about it
and it's easier to just make a joke out of it than to like actually talk about it.
What have other students been saying as they hear that you're planning this peace conference?
I've talked to a lot of my classmates in my Health Academy class about this event, and most of them were really excited, and they wanted to know ways that they could help out with this event.
They're just very excited because it's just new to the school, because no one really talks about gun violence, so I think they just find it like, and I know they want to attend the event.
What do you hope students will take away from this after attending the event? What's your goal?
I think we just want them to feel safer, at least get the awareness of just gun violence, or they can help somebody out and just talk to the resources that we provide at the event.
I think the most important thing that we're trying to get away from this is to spread awareness, because awareness is a solution. So even if we help one person, like we've accomplished our goal.
That was KPBS reporter Taryn Minto. The Peace Conference takes place April 20th and marks 20 years since the Columbine High School shooting in Colorado. Well, bad news if you're a California resident with a federal Real ID. You might have to go through the process all over again. This week, the Department of Homeland Security told Governor Gavin Newsom that the DMV fell short on requiring Californians to show a second proof of residency when applying for the card. The announcement comes after the department requested an additional $208 million from the state to help with the rollout of Real ID. DHS says that money will go toward hiring thousands of temporary workers. Still, lawmakers at the Capitol remain skeptical.
The money wasn't properly spent last year, because we gave them money for staffing. They weren't trained. We gave them money for tablets. They bought them but didn't use them. We gave them money to help with text messaging. They paid for the service but didn't use it. So again, the real question is how can we have confidence that the resources we give them will be used appropriately?
Federal officials are offering the state a grace period to correct the error. Beginning April 29th, all future customers who apply for Real ID will need to provide 2 documents to verify residency. The DMV is also sending letters to all Californians with a Real ID to inform them they must submit a second proof of residence, either online or mail or in person. San Diego City Council President Georgette Gomez is close to unveiling an update to an affordable housing policy. It's called inclusionary housing. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen is here to explain more. Andrew, what exactly is inclusionary housing?
Well, Ebony, if you're a developer in San Diego building housing, you essentially have 2 choices. You can either set aside 10% of your homes for low-income households and agree to charge them affordable rents, or you can pay a fee that goes into a fund that supports affordable housing elsewhere in the city. Now, the goal of this policy is essentially twofold. It's to harness the private market to build more affordable housing without taxpayer dollars, and also economic integration to give low-income folks an affordable place to live in the same communities and the same buildings as higher-income folks.
So what is the update to this policy that's being proposed?
Yeah, well, so most developers in San Diego choose to pay the fee because it's cheaper, and some progressives in the city have been pushing for an update that would either eliminate the fee, maybe raise it, or otherwise put more pressure on the private market to deliver affordable housing for low-income households. Now, for the past 6 months, Council President Gomez has been convening a working group, and they've been advising her on how to craft this policy. Her staff say they're now working on that policy update. They haven't given details, but they do say that there will be a longer list of options that developers can choose from to comply with this ordinance, and it'll also have a ramp-up period so it doesn't shock the market. So the goal is to pressure developers to include more affordable homes on site and in their communities.
Andrew, what are the arguments against this policy?
Yeah, well, so critics say it's already very expensive to build in San Diego, and any cost that you add to developing new housing is going to ultimately have a chilling effect on the housing market, and that at a time when we're already facing a serious housing shortage. And that housing shortage, of course, contributing to this affordability crisis that we have in San Diego. San Francisco updated its inclusionary housing policy in 2016, and various analysts have found that it actually did have a chilling effect on the market. It decreased the market rate housing production and the actual funds that the city had to construct affordable housing. So some analysts say and skeptics say that while inclusionary housing can feel good and feel like the right thing to do, it can actually have some unintended consequences.
And when can we expect to see more details on this proposal?
Yeah, Gomez's office says that they're planning to present this policy update to a city council committee in May, on May 15th, and they're hoping for a final vote at the full city council this fall. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
The USS Midway Museum gave a tour to a notable Navy veteran today. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman was there as the ship welcomed the former sailor and his family.
Thousands of people visit USS Midway every year, but today the ship had a very special visitor, one of the first sailors on board back in 1945.
This used to be the division officer's office.
This is his original suit.
Ed Stankowski joined the U.S. Navy in 1942 and served through World War II. Before his tour ended, he was part of the first crew aboard the USS Midway.
Well, I got assigned to it in February, and it was under construction. So I didn't get to see too much of it. I was driving my captain around.
Stankowski says once the ship was finished, he was part of its maiden voyage.
We took a shakedown cruise to the Caribbean island, Cuba and stuff. And we came back, and they put it in dry dock because there's some bugs that they had to remedy.
Stankowski says he remembers the food served on board was pretty good.
That was the best food I had in the Navy.
On this boat?
Yeah.
The Midway was in service until the early 1990s, and Stankowski says a lot has changed since he was on board.
The first thing I noticed is the change of the plane. It's interesting, is things have changed quite a bit. Even the flight deck is different.
Stankowski lives in Wisconsin, and he didn't make this trip alone. Some of his kids, grandkids, and a great-grandson were all with him.
We just lost our mother now, January, and I thought this would be a way to kind of sweeten things up a little bit. I said, we'll take you to San Diego. That was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He says, no, I'm not going. Well, 7 o'clock in the morning, next morning he's calling, when are we leaving?
You came on board in 45.
Now 97 years old, this was Stankowski's first time seeing the ship since leaving the Navy in 1946.
See that they folded the wings for save space.
His family says this is a memory they'll never forget.
A little bit heart-wrenching. You know, I think Pa even had a tear in his eye. He's just kind of a tough nut.
Stankowski was a radio man while on the Midway.
I was receiving and sending messages by International Morse code.
Something his great-grandson had a chance to try out himself. Although he was reluctant to come at first, Stankowski says the trip to San Diego was worth it.
I enjoyed seeing all this. But I didn't expect all this publicity.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
California has a favorite daughter in the race for president, but a new poll says Kamala Harris is actually not the favorite among California Democrats. KPBS editor Tom Fudge has the results.
The Quinnipiac University poll asked Democrats and those that lean Democrat who they'd vote for if the California primary were held today. Joe Biden came in first with 26%, Bernie Sanders got 18%, and California's junior Senator Kamala Harris was third with 17%. UC San Diego political science professor Thad Kauser says it's too early in the campaign to say that's horrible news for Harris. Even in her home state, she should be expected to trail such well-known candidates. But he says Harris has to turn things around before next year's March 3rd primary.
Kamala Harris will be the overwhelming favorite in the California primary, and anything short of a victory will be seen as a stumble that could tank her candidacy.
Kauser says Harris now needs to focus on fundraising and winning endorsements, and so far she's done a good job in both areas. Tom Fudge, KPBS News.
Speaking of Bernie Sanders, the 2020 presidential candidate is bringing health care back to the forefront of this election.
And together we are going to end the international embarrassment of the United States of America, our great country, being the only major nation on earth not to guarantee health care to all as a right. That is going to end.
Today, Senator Sanders unveiled a new version of his Medicare for All plan, renewing his call to eliminate private health insurance. Sanders says it's important all Americans have equal access to health care they can afford.
The American people are increasingly clear. They want a health care system that guarantees health care to all Americans as a right. They want a health care system which will lower health care costs and save them money. They want a health care system which will guarantee them freedom of choice in terms of the doctor or hospital they go to. They want a health care system which will substantially lower the cost of prescription drugs.
According to the Associated Press, at least 4 of Sanders' fellow senators and rivals for the Democratic nomination are set to sign on to the updated single-payer health care proposal. Meanwhile, the political battle over the future of California's public charter schools continues in Sacramento. Some lawmakers are pushing for a set of bills to more strongly regulate charter schools, including a bill that would put a freeze on any new schools for 5 years. Another bill would give local school boards more authority to regulate schools in their district. Lawmakers behind the measures point to declining enrollment in public schools.
Time to step back and pause. We need to take stock of what we have and determine what is the best path moving forward. A break in new charter schools and the growth of new charter schools will provide the time to consider how our current regulations for charter schools is working for the good of public education. Thank you all very much.
According to a recent Department of Finance report, the state saw a drop of nearly 10,000 public K-12 students last year.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, as the votes are tallied in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to prevail for a record 5th term in office. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Blue Heart is a mentorship program focusing on San Diego's underserved communities. The program aims to teach young men to not only be successful academically, but socially. And here to tell us more about the program is founder Tracy Morris and 2 student participants, graduating senior Amir and Kyland. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tracy, tell me, how is Blue Heart different from other mentoring programs?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that we focused on character development, which at the end of the day, you are able to make better choices. We also focus on the emotional intelligence of young men, because so many times these days, young men are they don't necessarily convey their feelings or their emotions on a regular basis.
And this weekend, there was an exciting announcement. Amir and Kylan, can you share what was the announcement this weekend for College Signing Day?
Well, the announcement for College Signing Days was to basically celebrate our academic achievements and celebrate what college we're going to be going to for the next 4 years.
Between the 2 of you, how many colleges have you been accepted to?
Well, I've been accepted to 69 colleges and universities.
Congratulations.
I've been accepted to 60 colleges and universities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There was a lot of fanfare for your academic achievements. How did that feel?
A lot of the time, there's a lot of hype centered around athletic scholarships, and there's a lot of hype around the excitement of committing to colleges and their choices and whatnot. So it was really a cool thing to have us get our own signing day for our academic achievements as well.
Just having my family there, having my supporters, having younger Blue Heart brothers, seeing what they can do in a short amount of time of high school and pushing out their academic success is really just amazing.
So talk to me about the motivation to start this program in San Diego and focusing on San Diego's underserved communities.
Well, I grew up in Southeast San Diego, and without a strong father figure, and so a lot of things that people say is that there's a need for male role models, and so with that being said, I kind of looked at what I needed as a young person or as a teenager growing up to help me focus on my goals, to be able to provide new experiences and just a guideline as to what I wanted to do with my life. And I think most importantly, I just wanted someone or somewhere that I could consistently go to that I knew would be there.
Kylan, how has Blue Heart helped you get to this point?
But once I really dedicated and committed to Blue Heart and spending the Saturdays and really investing in it, time and effort, it really came out to produce a lot of things and qualities in myself that I didn't know I possessed, such as leadership qualities. It gave me the platform to kind of advocate for myself, learn how to publicly speak better, and also just to take every relationship that I gain a lot more seriously.
And how did it feel for you on signing day? I mean, you're not going off to Morehouse like these young men, but how did it feel for you?
There's a sense of pride because it's the end of one piece of their journey, and it's like tying the bow on a lot of work that you've watched them endure. There's so much pride, and as we always have this bet. It's like it's a $5 bet to see how many times that I'll cry, and I always lose like every signing day because again it's a pride there because these young men have not only what society has said and reinforced, but their community continues to reinforce that they are not supposed to be achieving these types of goals, and to be accepted to 69 colleges and 60 and just as the other young men is just, to me, it's just phenomenal.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sunny skies are back in San Diego, but will the temperature be heating up? Meteorologist Dajia Swad has the forecast.
Windy conditions is what we've been feeling here across San Diego, and this is a recap from the past 24 hours. So Tuesday, Harrison Park got a report of 58-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and in Borrego Springs, 44-mile-per-hour gusts were reported. So very breezy. We'll continue to feel some breezes here tonight. What we won't really see is precipitation. You notice on our satellite and radar from the past several hours, it's dry into Southern California. Back towards our east, though, there's a low pressure system, a quite potent one, that will continue to track its way out of the Rockies into the plains and start to bring blizzard-like conditions into the plains as well as into the Midwest. We're not going to see any of that. We're clear tonight with a low of 57. Also looking at clear conditions in Oceanside with a low of 44, cooling down to 55 in Borrego Springs and 36 in Mount Laguna. Yeah, you might need a jacket out in Mount Laguna, but dry conditions still remaining in place for Thursday. Unsettled out towards our north, and we'll start to notice some cooler air filtering in for us across San Diego County as we have an upper level trough. That's going to bring in the cool air, and also a chance for a spotty shower Thursday night into Friday as you head into the higher grounds. Now, for the bulk of your day, you are dry, but there will be some clouds in Oceanside with a high of 71, 72 in San Diego for tomorrow, and 84 in Borrego Springs, topping off at 56 in Mount Laguna. Once again, in those higher grounds where you could see some precipitation possible late Thursday night into your Friday as we track out this dip in the jet stream known as a trough, as well as a low pressure system that will continue to press its way out of the region. Then as we look into the next several days, you're going to be needing the jackets depending on your location at the coast in the 70s. Lots of sunshine. We'll notice some more clouds building back in Monday with a high of 66, and we'll be in the 70s as well in the inland areas for your extended forecast. Pretty nice forecast here, not a lot of precipitation. Desert areas in the 80s, slightly cooler on Monday, and you'll need the jackets in the mountain areas with the chance for some showers Thursday night into your Friday with cold air with a high 52 for Friday. Reporting for KPBS News, I'm your meteorologist, Dajia Swad. Back to you.
Now here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On Morning Edition, KPBS hears from a migrant who will be directly affected by a court's decision to suspend President Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. And on Midday Edition, Congressman Scott Peters unveils the Climate Playbook, which lays out recommendations for immediate action against global warming, what he's proposing. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. And in honor of National Siblings Day, we're leaving you tonight with some siblings near and dear to our hearts here at KPBS. Have a great night.